Good morning students. Today we are starting new chapter of our unit biotechnology, and the second chapter is biotechnology and its applications. See, last time we were discussing about the chapter biotechnology principles and processes, in which we become familiar with what biotechnology is, what are the different sequence of events that are happening in biotechnology, how we are performing a recombinant DNA technology, and in this chapter we are going to see that in which different fields we are going to use this biotechnology. So, we are generally using the methods of biotechnology in producing transgenic organisms, or we simply say genetically modified organisms, because here we are going to deal with the genome of a organism. So, we need to understand about the transgenic organisms. These are the organisms which are having a foreign gene, because with the help of recombinant DNA technology we have inserted a foreign gene into the genome of these organisms, and this is how we have changed their phenotype. So, they are actually carrying a foreign gene, and this foreign gene is a functional gene which is going to express. Express simply means if this is a gene that is coding for a protein, that means this particular organism is responsible for the formation of the protein for which this foreign gene is going to be responsible. So, protein formation is going to occur. So, such organisms which have received a functional foreign gene from a different species, such organisms are known as transgenic organisms, and the gene that has been inserted into their genome that has taken from another species, that gene is known as transgene. And this process, this whole process of making a transgenic organism, that process is known as transgenesis. Now, these transgenic organisms, they are also known as genetically modified organisms. Reason? Because we have genetically modified them. In their genome, we have added some extra genes. One or more than one genes are being added. That's why they are known as genetically modified organisms. In short form, we call them as GMOs. So, now we are having lots of genetically modified organisms. We are having transgenic animals, transgenic plants, even transgenic microorganisms also. So, let us see which different type of transgenic animals are present, how we have genetically modified our plants, microorganisms. So, this is all the things which we are going to discuss in this chapter. First, let's take few examples of transgenic animals. The first transgenic animal that was produced in 1982, and it was a mice. What this mice was given? This mice was having a growth hormone, and this growth hormone was extracted out from a rat. So, from a rat, a growth hormone was taken out, a gene that was responsible for growth hormone that was taken out, and it was inserted in the mice. Now, this mice is having a foreign gene that was being taken from a rat, that is why this is a transgenic mice. Now, this transgenic mice, it was having the gene to produce growth hormone. So production of growth hormone was there, and because of more production of growth hormone, the size of the mice was twice as compared to the normal mice. This transgenic mice, it was grown twice as its normal size. So size was twice. This was the first transgenic organism that was produced. And after 1982, lots of transgenic organisms were produced, lots of transgenic animals were produced, like transgenic sheep. Transgenic sheep were produced. First, these transgenic sheep, they were having anti-hemophilic factor 9. Now we know that there is a disease that is hemophilia, and in hemophilia blood clotting factor is going to be missing in a person, and because of this missing of blood clotting factor, during a injury, when blood is flowing continuously out of the body, clotting is not going to take place. So that is a severe situation. So a anti-hemophilic factor, that is 9th factor, the gene that is responsible for this 9th factor, that was introduced into sheep, that is a transgenic sheep, and this transgenic sheep is responsible for production of blood clotting factor 9. This is going to be released in milk, and from milk this factor is extracted out and it is given to the patients who are suffering from hemophilia. So this is how these sheeps are important to treat the persons who are suffering from hemophilia. Just like that, some other transgenic sheeps are there which are having a bacterial gene, and this bacterial gene is responsible for the synthesis of a amino acid cysteine. Why we have inserted a bacterial gene that is responsible for the synthesis of amino acid cysteine? Because this amino acid cysteine, it is a major component of the wool that is going to be obtained from the sheep. So because of more and more synthesis of cysteine, more wool production will be there. For that purpose, transgenic sheeps are used, and many of the time these transgenic sheeps are also having growth hormone, say human growth hormone, and this is responsible for their fast growth and meat production. For more meat production, this growth hormone can be introduced into the sheep. So this is how the transgenic sheeps are used for different purposes. Just like these transgenic sheep, we are also using transgenic goats. In these transgenic goats, a gene is inserted, and this gene is responsible for formation of a clot dissolving protein. It is responsible for blood clot dissolving protein, that is tissue plasminogen activator. Now this blood clot dissolving protein, again it is going to be present in milk secretion, and from this milk secretion, from the milk of the goat, it is going to be extracted out and it is going to be used for the persons who are suffering from coronary thrombosis. These persons are having blood clot in their coronary artery. So, for the dissolution of that blood clot, this tissue plasminogen activator is being extracted out from the milk of the goat and it is given to the person who is suffering from this particular condition. So, this is how this transgenic goat is being used. Now, other than this transgenic goats, we are having transgenic fishes also, for which we are giving these transgenic fishes. They are again having human growth hormone gene that is responsible for formation of human growth hormone, like goldfish is there. There are lots of other fishes that are being used, like we are having salmon, catfish. So, all these fishes, they have been genetically modified by introducing human growth hormone, and because of this introduction of human growth hormone, these fishes are going to be enlarged in their size. So, for more meat production, there are transgenic fishes which are being produced. Just like that, transgenic pigs are also there. Which are also having this human growth hormone, and this human growth hormone is responsible for their fast growth, and because of this fast growth there is low deposition of subcutaneous fat. Below the skin fat is going to be deposited, so that fat is going to be low, and because of which the pork which we are getting, that is of low fat concentration. So, to obtain pork with low fat concentration, this growth hormone, gene for growth hormone is introduced into the transgenic pigs. So, fast growth will be there and there will be low deposition of subcutaneous fat, that is giving pork with less fat content. This is how these transgenic organisms are being used. There are various transgenic mice which researchers are using in their study purpose. Like there are mice that are containing breast cancer gene, human breast cancer gene that is responsible for breast cancer in humans. Now, these transgenic mice are helping the researchers to understand breast cancer, how it is occurring, how it can be treated, what are the effect of different medicines or chemotherapies on it. So, this is how they are going to use these mice. So, these are some of the examples of transgenic animals which are used for different purposes. This is just like that. Transgenic plants are also produced, and these transgenic plants, they are having some modified features. So, let us talk about transgenic plants. So, what different type of characteristics we can introduce in a transgenic plant? The first thing is we can make these transgenic plants disease resistant, like viral diseases are there, fungal or bacterial diseases are there that are affecting the plants. So, we can introduce certain genes which can make these plants disease resistant, we will see when we will discuss in detail about the different transgenic plants with their examples, that how they have been made resistant for different type of diseases. So disease resistant plants, they can be viral diseases or bacterial or fungal diseases. These plants can be made resistant to pests also, so they can be made pest resistant. So plants can be modified like this way. Another thing is, these plants, transgenic plants, they can be also used for the production of various pharmaceutical agents, like plants are used for the production of human insulin, that is used to treat diabetic patients. Interferons are being produced. Then interleukins are going to be produced. There are various other pharmaceutical factor agents which are being produced from the plants, hormones, blood clotting factors. And other various things. This can also be done in plants. Now, next thing can be done is that these plants are going to have antibiotics or antibodies, vaccines, and while eating the fruits, they are going to increase our immune system. They make our immune system more strong. So this is the another thing that can be done in the modification of plants. So they are going to be producing antibodies, vaccines, and fruits that make strong immune system. This is the another thing that can be done in cases of plants. Now other than that, these plants, they can be tolerate adverse environmental conditions. They are so strong that they can tolerate adverse environmental conditions, like we can say flood is there or drought conditions are there, high salinity is there, high temperature is there. So these are the conditions that are affecting our plants. Growth is also affected, production is also affected. So if our plants are going to be resistant to all these environmental factors, then there will be no effect on the growth and production of the plants. That is also going to help in our agricultural processes also. So they should be resistant to high temperature, salinity, means high salt content, or you can say flood, more water is there, or drought situation is there, there is deficiency of water. So these are the environmental factors which affect our crops the most. If they become resistant to such environmental conditions, our production is going to be high. Next one is, these plants, they can be genetically modified to fix nitrogen, fix atmospheric nitrogen. This is how also the plants can be genetically modified. Now they can bear, because of genetic modification, they can bear flowers of different colors, which are having high ornamental values. Flowers are used for different purposes. Or another thing can be, in some of the plants, ripening is a major problem, because when we are going to transport the fruits from one place to another place for a long distance, then the main problem is, because of ripening, the there is short lifespan of the fruit, or you can say vegetables. They are going to be, you can say, more ripened during the time of transport, and they are going to be damaged. So because of certain changes in or genetically modifications in these plants, we can slow down their ripening process, and because of slowing down their ripening process, the shelf life of the fruits or vegetables, they are going to increase. So slow ripening leads to increase in shelf life of fruits and vegetables. So this is how the transgenic plants, these are the characteristics which can be introduced in a transgenic plants. Example we will see when we are going to discuss about biotechnology in agricultural processes. And exactly just like these transgenic plants and animals, there are lots of transgenic microorganisms which are being produced, and they are used for the production of various human proteins, hormones, enzymes. So the third type of organisms are transgenic microorganisms. The most common transgenic microorganisms that are being used are bacterial cells, yeast cells. They are being genetically modified to produce lots of human proteins. Like simply we are using them for the production of hormones like human insulin. And insulin that is extracted out from these bacterial and yeast cells, they are used for the treatment of patients suffering from diabetes. Just like that, we are obtaining blood clotting factor from these organisms, genetically modified organisms, and these blood clotting factors, they are given to the persons who are suffering from hemophilia. Then we are producing blood clot dissolving protein, that is tissue plasminogen activator. Given to the patients who are suffering from coronary thrombosis. On large scale, there is production of interferons, interleukins, then there is tumor necrosis factor that are given in the treatment of cancer. So interferons are being produced, interleukins, tumor necrosis factor, and all these things, they are used in the treatment of cancer. So this is how these transgenic microorganisms, they have been modified by human beings, and they are used in the treatment of lots of deadly diseases. Then we are having transgenic bacteria with environmental use. So these were bacteria and yeast that were used in various medical fields. So there are many bacteria that are being genetically modified, and we are using these bacteria to clean up our environment. We know that bacteria are good decomposers. So bacteria with environmental use. How these transgenic bacteria are used for cleaning our environment, just like in oceans or seas. If a ship is carrying oil tankers, and because of any of the accidental reason the oil is going to mix up with water, that means it is going to form a layer, oil spill will be there, there is formation of a layer on the surface of water. So we are having lots of genetically modified bacteria that are responsible for degradation of such type of oil spills. So they are responsible for degradation of oil spills. There are certain chemicals which are very toxic and they are present in our environment. So these transgenic bacteria, they are also responsible for the breakdown of such harmful chemicals. So again, breakdown of toxic chemicals. That's how these bacteria are going to be used. There are other microorganisms like transgenic E. coli is there, that is responsible for milk production in cow. With the help of such transgenic microorganisms like simple bacterial cell E. coli, this is given the bovine growth hormone. This transgenic E. coli, that is having a bovine growth hormone. And because this is having a bovine growth hormone, when it is going to be present in the digestive tract of cow, then what this E. coli is going to do in the intestine of cow, it is going to be responsible for the production of cellulase, and we know cellulase is responsible for the breakdown of cellulose. That means whatever feed the cow is taking, that feed will be entirely used up because of the presence of cellulase, and if entire feed is used, then that simply means that growth will be promoted, and most important thing, milk production is going to be increased. So this is how this transgenic E. coli is used in increased milk production in cow. So these are different type of transgenic organisms which are used for different purposes. Now we are going to discuss about the one single field, that is agriculture. How biotechnology has helped us in agricultural processes, how our production has been increased by using biotechnology. So our next topic is biotechnological application in agriculture. So in agriculture there are lots of problems, like there are lots of weeds that are going to compete with our crops, there are lots of you can say insects, worms that are going to harm our crops, there are lots of environmental conditions that are also going to you can say lower down the production or growth of our crops. So crops are going to suffer a lot dealing with lots of problems. So now researchers had tried to cover up all these aspects and try to produce such type of crops which are going to fight with all such conditions. Now earlier what was done, earlier there was introduction or you can say change in complete genome, because lots of technologies were what developed, but when we started using recombinant DNA technology, now it is very simple that we can introduce one or more than one or few specific genes only, the complete genome is not required, into a plant, and simply that plant can be genetically modified. Now if we compare genetic modification in an animal and in a plant, then in plants genetically modified plants are simply more easy to make as compared to animals. The reason behind this is that most of the plant cells are totipotent cells, means these cells are having the ability to give rise to a complete new plant. So we are not required to change the genome or genetic content of all the cells of a plant, simply one cell is enough, genetic modification in one single cell is enough, and this cell is going to give rise to a complete new plant, and this is how the changes that we have incorporated into a single cell of a plant, these changes have been transferred to each and every cell of a new plant that is formed from this single cell. So that's how it is more easy and convenient to make a transgenic plant as compared to a transgenic animal. And which technology we are using? We are simply using rDNA technology. In earlier chapter we have talked about rDNA technology, in which we are taking one or more than one gene, specific gene, and we are going to introduce that specific gene in a plant cell. Now for the introduction of this desired gene in a plant cell, we can use any of the vector, a virus can be used or a plasmid can be used, and most commonly a bacteria is used, that is Agrobacterium tumefaciens, because that is naturally affecting the plants. And this recombinant DNA that is formed, that is containing the foreign gene. Now this can be introduced inside the plant cell by different methods. We saw it can be done by co-cultivation with the plant cell. This recombinant DNA will be grown in a single culture medium so that the plant cell can intake this recombinant DNA. We can use micro injection also, in which the recombinant DNA with the help of a micro syringe or micro pipette, it is directly introduced inside the nucleus of the cell, or electroporation can be done, in which we are providing a electric potential, because of which the porosity of the plasma membrane is going to change, and the cells, or you can say the plant cells, are going to uptake the recombinant DNA. So this is how, which we have already done in last chapter. This is how a foreign gene can be introduced into a plant cell. Now we have introduced the foreign genes in the plant cell and improved the plants in different fields. We have done improvement in photosynthesis, make the plant herbicide resistant, insect resistant. So such type of qualities are being incorporated into the plants. Like if we discuss about improvement in photosynthesis, how the plants have been genetically improved and the performance of photosynthesis have been increased. We know that there is an enzyme that is very much important in the process of photosynthesis, that is rubisco. Ribulose 1,5-bisphosphate. Most abundant enzyme that is present on the earth's surface and playing a very important role in the process of photosynthesis. And we know one more thing about this rubisco, that it is having both the abilities, oxygenase activity also and carboxylase activity also. In some of the conditions, like during extreme light conditions or when oxygen concentration is more, then this rubisco is going to inhibit carboxylation. Carboxylation will be inhibited and ribulose biphosphate is going to be oxygenated. So a reverse thing is done. So going to inhibit carboxylation and it is going to oxygenate the substrate, that is ribulose biphosphate. And because of these two conditions, a negative process is going to occur in plants, that is photorespiration, and in the process of photorespiration CO2 will be lost and our photosynthesis, rate of photosynthesis is going to decrease. Now scientists have tried to extract out this rubisco. They tried to genetically modify this rubisco so that this process of photorespiration, this is a process that is going to reduce our rate of photosynthesis, so that this process of photorespiration can be eliminated out and rate of photosynthesis can be increased. So they have extracted this rubisco from the pea plant and transferred it to the tobacco plant and tried to improve the process of photosynthesis. So this is how they genetically modified this rubisco gene that is coding for rubisco. Now some other improved plants are also there, some of the plants which are improved for herbicide resistant. So next class we will discuss how different plants are made that are resistant for herbicides.